Hello and welcome to another hobby guide for Star Wars Legion, and today we're going to be covering something that I see continuously show up when people discuss getting into the game. And if you're a new player to Star Wars Legion, which all of us were at some point, you are going to likely either go onto YouTube or go to the subreddit to get information on what you should buy first to get into the game. And the answer to this question about 100% of the time is to get the core set box, and many players will actually recommend that you get more than one, sometimes up to 3 core set boxes. And right up front, that might seem like a lot of money to put into the game right off the bat. And if you're a player looking to get into the game and not split this box set with, say, a friend or sibling, you might be scratching your head and thinking to yourself, look, I just want some clone troopers, not 60 droid models and the same set of rules and tools 3 times over. But very quickly, you will be reassured by veteran players who will tell you that these box sets are a very good deal, and if you can't split this core box set with somebody, you can always put the models on eBay to get your money back, and the value that you get from this half of the box sets will totally justify the extra legwork of selling those models off, and be much more financially sound than buying all these units individually on their own. And that's really what this video is going to be all about. How does a new player go about buying these core box sets when they intend to just play and collect one of the factions in that core box, and either don't plan on splitting it with a friend or sibling, or are buying more box sets after your initial one that you did split with a friend or sibling? Now, I understand that was a very wordy and complex introduction to this video, but once we start going over the slides, it should start to make a lot more sense. And to do that, we are going to first take a look at the contents of these core box sets, as this is going to serve as a sort of roadmap as to which contents of this box you are going to be keeping and selling off as you buy more of them. So on the top here, we are going to have what I like to call our tools section, and this will include all of the instruments required to play the game, and some other superfluous items like the barricades. And first up here, we are going to have our generic command cards, which you will have 2 sets of in this box set, and they are going to be very much essential for play, most notably because of that 4-pip standing orders card. But really, you should have the other 3 generic command cards in your collection, otherwise it does get very difficult to build command hands, which is pretty detrimental to the game. And while you do get 2 sets of these generic command cards, I recommend holding on to both sets should you lose a card from one of them, or, God forbid, have your entire card collection go missing. After that, we are going to have a set of dice, and it is worth noting that they never give you enough dice in any of these sets, and if you do plan on buying just one core set, you are going to need to go out and pick up another dice set, and at $15 for a dice pack, the dice inclusion in the core set is one of the main reasons people recommend you pick up multiple of them. They're not cheap, and you really do need 6 of each color and type, as many new players have learned after cracking open this box set. But after the dice, we are going to have the movement and measurement sticks, something I initially kind of scoffed at as a veteran wargamer, but they really do come into play with Legion, and honestly, they are pretty nice in comparison to busting out a tape measure, and if you want to do any sort of competitive play, you will need them. And lastly, we are going to have the barricades, which aren't exactly the best piece of terrain, but they are a very welcome inclusion, especially if you're a new player who doesn't have a whole closet full of terrain like some of us do. But I will say that these things have pretty abysmal resale value should you get multiple core sets, because honestly, everybody has these things, and there's really no reason to collect more than one set, otherwise you're going to have way too much heavy cover on your battlefield. So for the most part, we are going to be kind of ignoring the barricades. Like I said, they really don't have any resale value, and I would honestly just recommend that you use them as test models to practice your painting techniques on, or just donate them to your LGS. After that, in the tools category, we are going to have the rulebook and tokens, but I decided to leave those 2 items out of this video, and that's because the rulebook is available online for free, and the tokens, bar the ones that are in relation to a unit, are pretty dime a dozen, and most Legion players will have plenty of them already. And that is going to move us along to the models in this core box set, of which we are going to have 2 factions that mirror each other. Each of them is going to have a commander. Pictured here is General Grievous and Obi-Wan from the Clone Wars core sets. And these commanders are actually exclusive to this box set, not just the model themselves, but also the unit card and the command cards that come along with them, which of course is a major driving factor in why people recommend buying a core set. You can't get these guys anywhere else, and even if you look at other factions like the Imperials and the Rebels who have those characters as operatives, you're still not getting the units and the command cards that come in this core set, so it still is definitely a benefit. But after our commanders, we are going to have our core troops here, of which we will have 2 squads for each faction, and these are the troopers that make up the backbone of your army, and are yet again another major draw to these core sets, as 1 squad of these core units usually cost $20 to $25 on their own, and you are going to need a lot of these to flesh out most of your lists, especially if you're running a Horde faction such as the Separatist Alliance, or the Rebels who also benefit from having high numbers of core units. And when you do the math on those 4 trooper squads alone, you really are starting to see how good of a bundle these core sets actually are. But in the words of the late and great Billy Mays, but wait, there's more, you also get a support unit included in these box sets. And while these support units tend to be a little bit less desirable, they do undeniably add more value to these sets. And if we actually break down the entire contents of this box set and price it out how much these units go for individually, you're going to see that this is about a $170 value box set here, and that means you're getting about a 40% discount on all of these items, which is all around just a fantastic deal, which isn't just helping new players get into the hobby at a very affordable cost, but allowing people to build full-sized armies of Star Wars Legion, albeit rather vanilla armies, at a very steep discount. So when people recommend new players to buy these box sets, it's not just out of necessity, but also because they are a remarkable bang for your buck, and I do wish more companies copy this format for their starter sets, as new players don't want to spend money on utility items such as dice or measurement sticks, cough cough, Warlord Games. But with all the contents here laid out and assessed at MSRP value, let's go ahead and take a look at how I would recommend new players break down this box set if they're looking to get into the hobby and collect a single faction. And this one is a bit of a no-brainer here. You're going to keep all of the models for the faction that you want to collect, along with all the tools and dice that you need to play the game. After that, you're going to take all the models for the faction that you don't plan on playing, such as the commander, the 2 core units, and their support units, and selling them for under MSRP at a very competitive rate. Now, quick disclaimer here, I'm assuming that everyone who is listening to this video is an adult with their own bank account and is capable of using websites like eBay. If you are a younger person who's trying to get into this hobby, you are going to need to discuss this with your parent or guardian before going online and setting up an eBay account to sell models. I'm also assuming that most people listening know how to package and ship items, and if you're not experienced with that, there's plenty of other channels on YouTube that will help you out there. And I do want to make special note that you really are going to need to get a good, proper size packaging for these models when you send them out. Otherwise, it will very quickly chew into your revenue and ultimately depreciate the value you're getting from reselling these models. And while you could bundle deal all of this other faction in the box set into one big package and sell it as its own half, I would actually recommend breaking it down and selling it unit by unit. The previous method will save you on shipping, but if you know how to use the right size packages with the right size post carrier, there's a lot more money to be made breaking them down. It just is going to require a little bit more patience, as they won't all sell at once. But let's go ahead and take a look at the pricing behind the units that you would be selling. In this example here, I have the Separatist Alliance, but for the most part, the pricing is pretty much standard across the board, regardless of which box set you have and which faction you are reselling. And first up, we are going to have our commander units here. Again, these are exclusive to the box sets, and selling them at $15 is a pretty fair price, especially General Grievous, considering that he is one of the later hard plastic models that comes on a sprue, which have seen some cost increases over the traditional soft plastic. However, while we are on the topic of soft plastic, I am going to bring up the one discrepancy in prices I have recommended here, as the 2 commanders from the initial core sets, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, may need to be sold at a lower price tag, around $10, and there's 2 main reasons for that. The first of which is that these models exist as operative expansions, meaning if somebody really wants Darth Vader or Luke, they can buy those on their own, and the second being that these are some of the initial sculpts for Star Wars Legion, and they are really lacking in terms of quality compared to the 2 newer renditions of these characters. So when people are on eBay looking for Luke Skywalker and Vader from the core sets, they're probably doing it to acquire this unit's command cards and unit card, rather than the model itself. That being said, the initial core box set is about $20 cheaper than the Clone Wars box set, so you're not really losing any value there. Just know that it's going to be a harder sell than the prequel heroes, so you may have to get pretty competitive with your pricing. And while we're on the topic of people buying units for their cards, I'm going to go on another tangent here real quick, one that is especially relevant for people new to the game. When you sell these units, you need to include the relative tokens, the unit cards, any command cards they might have, and any unit-specific upgrade cards. And this is especially true for commander units, as they do have their command cards, which are pretty necessary to them being used in the game. It may be less necessary for units like Droidekas or B1 battle droids, but you're definitely less likely to make a sale if you don't include all that extra hardware. But again, wrapping up the commanders, they are exclusive to these box sets, and $15 is a fair asking price, at least for the two prequel commanders. If you're looking at the original core box sets with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, I would recommend dropping it down to $10 per model, or if you're on eBay, at least leave it open to offers, so you can get a feel for the supply and demand of those models. But after that, we are going to have our core squads here. These are going to be our main troopers for all the factions. In this example, it's B1 battle droids. And I would recommend selling these guys for $15 per squad. Keep in mind that each core set comes with 2 squads for each faction. And what is there to say here other than the fact that these guys are almost always in demand? Not only are people buying these squads to add to their collection and flesh out their army, but people are doing other wild and creative things, like putting clone troopers inside the open sides of the Lat LE gunship. And I'm sure people will do the same with droids when we get that Persuader class tank. Basically, what I'm saying is these guys are always in demand, and if you have them priced competitively, they will sell rather quickly. And really, the same thing is going to go for your support units following them up. They're models that MSRP at about $25, Droidekas being the exception at $30, and if you're selling them at $15, they are going to go rather quickly. There is going to be a special note for these support units, however, as they do have unique tokens that you should punch out and sell with the units, alongside their units and upgrade cards. For the speeder bikes and the ATRT, you are going to have vehicle damage tokens, while the Droidekas are going to have blue shield tokens, which absolutely should be included with the correlating model when you sell it. And if you're not sure what these tokens look like, take a look through the rulebook as it should give you examples. But if you're looking to get into this game and you're buying your first box set, and you don't plan on splitting it with anyone, this is the best breakdown for you. You're going to keep all the hardware you need to play the game, and net yourself a commander, 2 core trooper units, and a support model, who are going to act as the foundation for your new army. Meanwhile, you are going to sell off the models for the faction you don't plan on collecting, which, if you are selling at the competitive prices that I recommend, will net you $55 to $60. Now again, if you are going in on the older core set, you might need to decrease prices here and there. They're older models, they're not the best sculpts, so you are going to have to adjust prices to meet their demand. Again, if you're selling on eBay, perhaps keep offers open so you can kind of test the market. But at the end of the day, the original box set is $20 cheaper than the Clone Wars core set, so don't get too flustered if you have to drop prices here and there. At the end of the day here, you are paying about 40% of the total cost for a box set that is already pretty much bundling all of its contents for close to half off. On top of all of that, these box sets do also go on sale from time to time, especially the original core set, which I have seen get as low as $57. So not only is it essential to get at least one core set to have the components you need to play the game, it really is a huge bang for your buck, especially if you are breaking it down and selling the other contents. But hey, let's say you really like Imperial Stormtroopers or Phase 1 clones, and you want that to be the bulk of your army. Well, as many people will recommend, go out and buy a second core set. But this time around, you're going to be getting even more of a bargain here, because you're not just going to be selling all the models of that opposing faction, but also that duplicate commander that you're going to be getting for your faction. After all, you can't field duplicate Obi-Wan Kenobis. Now, I know some people are getting creative and they like to have multiple General Grievuses, sometimes with a blaster, sometimes without, or they like to convert their Obi-Wan to be an Anakin in Clone Wars armor. And that's all pretty cool, but if you're looking for hardcore bargain savings here, go ahead and hawk that commander for another $15, $10 if it's the original core set, and now you're down to getting the contents of this box set that you want for just a quarter of the price of the box set. And if we use the Clone Wars box set as an example here, if you keep 2 clone squads and a BARC speeder, you're essentially getting a buy 1, get 2 free deal going on here, and that's not even considering the extra dice and measurement sticks. And yes, at this point you could put the extra measurement sticks up on eBay, but I do like having extra of those lying around, and they do have the unfortunate tendency to break. That being said, absolutely keep this extra pair of dice. It will bump your overall dice collection up to 6 of each color and type, which is pretty much the minimum or standard that you need to play Star Wars Legion. Personally, with the amount of games I have under my belt, I do prefer having 9, but for the most part, a collection of 6 each is going to serve you well 95% of the time. Now, we are also going to get another 2 hands of those generic command cards here, and you could list these guys on eBay for really cheap, as you could mail them in a postcard for the price of a stamp, but from my experience, they're not really a hot seller, and I like to hold on to mine in case some of mine go missing, or if my friend needs some. At the end of the day, that part's up to you, and if you really want to squeeze this box set, go ahead and put them on eBay for like $5 or so with offers enabled. It's up to you. So at that point, when you're done with your second box set, you're now going to have a commander, 4 core trooper units, and 2 support models, which is going to give you enough models to make an 800-point list for most factions, and get you in the game proper. And if you follow my guide on how to break this box set down, and sell off those unwanted models at a competitive price, you'll have all of those units and the tools you need to play the game for under $70. Yes, that's right, less than the cost of the core box set alone. It's a ridiculously good way to get into the hobby, and I can't think of any wargame out there that has a box set this good that allows you to build a collection and dive into the game at this cost. But hey, let's say you're playing Rebels or Droids and you need a lot of troopers on the field. I'm talking 6 core units every game just to get to 800 points. Well, you may consider picking up a 3rd core box set. That's right, now you're going to have 6 trooper units and 3 support units. And since you already have the contents of 2 core box set in your possession, you can start selling off some of that hardware that comes in here to make it even more of a bargain. Of course, you're going to sell all of the models in the faction that you don't want. You're going to sell that 3rd commander you're getting. But then you can take the rulebook, those movement sticks, the barricades, and the command cards, and throw them into a really cheap bundle buy on eBay for $15. Now, that's super competitive pricing when you look at the MSRP of these things on their own, but they're really not high demand items, and it may take a little while before they sell. Again, I would suggest turning on offers here, but at this point they're probably just taking up space in your hobby box, and why not try to make a few bucks off them to further sweeten this bargain. Now, you are going to have an extra set of dice here that is going to bump you up to 9 dice of each type and color. And after playing as much Legion as I have, that's how much I like to have in my collection. But if you're okay just having 6 of each, which, like I said earlier, is serviceable about 95% of the time, then you can go ahead and throw these dice in with that bundle deal and ask an extra $10 for it. Seriously, dice are a very hot commodity, and it will definitely increase the chances of you selling these miscellaneous items. But at this point, if you're breaking down the box set to this extent, you're basically getting 3 more units and dice for about $10, which is pretty remarkable. And hey, if you do want to sell that last pack of dice, you're probably not going to pay a dime for this last box set. That's how good of a bundle deal these boxes actually are. And at this point, you're going to have an entire collection of a commander, 6 core units, and 3 support units for somewhere between $70 and $80. So let's go to our full breakdown of each of these box sets. And as you can see here, the basic principle is the more box sets you buy, the less contents of the box set you need, meaning the more items you can resell, thus increasing the bargain you're getting for each box set. And I know that all sounds pretty pyramid schemey, but those are the prices that FFG set for these core boxes. They must be making money off it, otherwise they wouldn't retail at that price. And I'm going to assume it's good for the hobby because it's a very enticing buy-in, much more so than most other wargames. But there is one major factor that we have not discussed yet in relation with selling stuff online, be it eBay or on a Facebook page, and that is shipping costs. And I know a lot of you people are seeing those price breakdowns and then thinking to yourself, yes, what about shipping? That's going to eat right into those. And for that, I say you are potentially right. There are 2 paths you can take with shipping when it comes to these models. Shipping is going to cost around $5 for each unit you sell. And you can choose to either ask your buyers to pay for that or include it in the cost. And by include it in the cost, I don't mean up it from $15 to $20 and then say it's free shipping. I mean actually give it free shipping at a very, very competitive cost. It's definitely going to eat into the overall bargain that you're getting on these box sets, but they will move very quickly. On the other hand, you can ask your buyer to pay shipping, just know that it might not sell quite as fast. But if you really want to capitalize on the bargain that you can get out of these box sets, there is another route that you can take to this breakdown, but one that does require some skill with a paintbrush. So if you're coming over from another wargame and you have experience painting minis, you can buy a core set, paint the models that you don't plan on keeping, and sell them for a substantially greater amount than they would go on the sprue. In fact, you can actually turn a profit on these box sets while collecting an army if you do take this route. But guys, please be honest with your capabilities when you're doing this. Don't end up as one of the tabletop standard eBay model memes. And please do price your painted models respectively to the amount of detail and time that you put into them. Like my dad always said, there's no such thing as a free meal. And if you're going on eBay asking top dollar for a botched paint job, you may have been better off selling it gray. But lastly, we are going to move on to the part of the video where I talk about morals. And like I said earlier, there is a bit of a kind of scummy feeling that I'm almost making out like a bandit when I do this resale technique, but I have only personally done this technique 4 times. And it would have only been 2 times, but at one point I had my entire clone army and all of my cards stolen from me, so I had to start from scratch again. But I will ask that you guys try not to abuse this system, as it could saturate the market, which would in turn kill this technique and hurt new people who are trying to get into the hobby on a budget. And yes, you could go out, buy a bunch of core sets, break them down, sell everything individually, and potentially make a profit off it. But at that point you might be doing something illegal, not to mention that that is a lot of labor for what would end up being a pretty marginal profit. And lastly, be a professional when you are doing these transactions. When you're shipping, package your models properly so they don't get damaged in transit, and don't be lazy when it comes to shipping. Get that stuff mailed out as soon as you can, especially if you're doing this transaction over a Facebook group. Don't leave your buyer waiting, thinking that they might be getting ripped off. And of course, most importantly, don't rip people off. Don't mail them sprues with stuff that you already clipped out because you wanted to add it on your other models. Don't leave out things like unit cards and tokens. We're all in this hobby together, and I want you guys to treat your buyers the same way that you would want yourself and your collection treated. But I hope this video helped you guys out, especially those new players who are kind of scratching their head when people on Reddit tell them to go out and buy 3 box sets. And also, if we can all give a good tip of the hat to FFG and now Atomic Mass Games for manufacturing and selling such a fantastically priced core box set, there really isn't a single wargame out there that has a starter set that comes this close in terms of value, and I'm very appreciative of it, especially after having an entire army lost and having to start from scratch. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Is this totally unethical? Do you think it's alright? Is this just the free market at work? Or have I doomed this practice by broadcasting it to YouTube? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Consider subscribing to the channel. I am going to have more beginner guides for Legion coming out, including what to buy for each faction when getting started. And as always, until next time, take care.